Good morning, students. Today we will start with our chapter 1 of Geography, Resources and Development. Now, students, if we talk of resources, then which things you consider as a resource? Resource means things which satisfy our needs. Things become resources only when they have a value, like for example, water, food, and oxygen. Now, let us define a resource. Anything that can be used to satisfy a need is a resource. The water which you drink, the electricity which we use, and the textbook you use to study are all resources. But students, this is very narrow definition of resources, that anything can be used to satisfy a need is a resource. So this concept is very narrow concept. Now let us see the comprehensive definition of resource. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. So again I am repeating, everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as a resource. Now students, here technological accessible means like we have so many minerals in our earth's crust, but we can't use these minerals until and unless we have appropriate technology required to extract these resources from earth's crust. So technologically accessible means technology should be available with us, then only these minerals will be called resource. Now, what is the meaning of culturally acceptable? Means it should be acceptable by the society, and culturally acceptable means it must be accepted by the people. It must not disturb or hurt the sentiments or their culture or the surroundings or home environment. Example, we will not. Now culturally acceptable means it should be acceptable by the society, and culturally acceptable, it must be accepted by the people. It must not disturb or hurt their sentiments, culture, surroundings or home. For example, you can say culturally acceptable, like you can say wood, water. These are culturally acceptable resources. Now next is economically feasible, that is it should be viable option from economic point of view. Cost of operation should not be too high that no return is received from extracting a mineral. Suppose we are extracting a mineral, then whatever cost of inputs involved should not be too high that we will not earn anything after extraction, then we are going to incur a loss. Now our next is, how do we get a resource? So this was the comprehensive definition of resource we have seen, that is everything available in environment which can satisfy our needs, but provided it should be technologically accessible, technology should be there, economically feasible means the cost of extraction should not be too much, and culturally acceptable, that it should not hurt the sentiments of people. Now next is, how do we get a resource? Now the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship between nature, technology and institution. So now we have to see the interdependent relationship between nature, technology and institution. So we, the human beings, interact with nature, that is our physical environment, through technology, and we create institutions to accelerate our economic development. That is, we human beings, we find a resource in the nature, then we extract these resources with the help of technology, and we create industry, infrastructure in the form of institutions to promote economic development. And in this way, human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions. Now students, many people think that resources are free gifts of nature. but they are not. Resources are a function of human activities. Resources become functional because of human beings, and human beings themselves are essential component of resource, that is people as resource, and they transform the material which is available in our environment into the resource, and we use them. Like land is a fixed resource, land is a passive factor of production, and on its own land can't do anything. Labor is active factor of production, so labor is required to work on land. Now students, we have to see the classification of resources. Now we have to classify resources. Certain parameters are there to classify the resources. Similarly, now we will classify them on the basis of origin. So on the basis of origin, resources can be biotic and abiotic, and on the basis of exhaustibility, it can be renewable and non-renewable, and on the basis of ownership, we have individual, community, national and international resources, and on the basis of status of development, students, we have potential, developed, stock and reserve. Now moving to page 2, students, here now we have to discuss the classification of resources, that is types of resources. Now first classification, students, on the basis of origin, we have first biotic resources. So these are obtained from biosphere and they have a life, such as human beings, flora, fauna, fisheries, livestock. So biotic resources are those resources which are living. Second is abiotic resources. All those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources, like rocks and metals. So that is abiotic resources. Now on the basis of second classification, on the basis of exhaustibility, students, so we have renewable resources. So let's discuss first renewable resources. So students, those resources which can be renewed in a short time, and these do not cause any pollution to the environment, and these are free gifts of nature, like air, water, solar energy. These all are renewable resources. Now let's talk about non-renewable resources, those resources which cannot be renewed in a short time, and these causes pollution to the environment, and these are not free gifts of nature. For example, minerals, oil and coal. So this is the classification of resources on the basis of exhaustibility, that is renewable and non-renewable. Now on the basis of ownership, students, we have first classification as individual resources. These are also owned privately by individual. So here individuals are the owners of the resources, like the farmers, they own the land which is allotted to them by the government against the payment of revenue. In villages also there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless also. Urban people, they have houses, other property, plantation, pastures, lands, ponds, water in the wells. These are some of the example of resources which are owned by individual. So this is individual ownership, land, car, any asset, any property. Second is now, students, community owned resources. Now there are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community as a whole, like you can say grazing ground, burial grounds, village ponds, public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds in the urban areas. They are in reality accessible to all the people living there. So as a community, who is owning these resources? Community. Everybody is having equal access to these resources. Now third is, students, national resources. So technically speaking, all the resources belong to the nation. So if the resources are within the national territory, national boundary, so it belongs to nation only, and the country has the legal powers to acquire even the private property for public good. And you might have seen roads, railway lines being constructed on the fields owned by some of the individuals. So government has this authority that they can acquire the land of the individuals if they want to construct anything for the nation's good. Then urban development authorities also, they are empowered by the government to acquire the land. So students, all the minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, land within the political boundaries, oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles or 22.2 kilometer from the coast is termed as territorial waters, and resources therein belongs to the nation. So students, this nautical mile, this is a unit which we use to measure the ocean. So here 1 nautical mile is equals to approximately 1.9 kilometer. So up to 12 nautical miles, all the resources, it come under the territorial water and belong to nation only. Now the next is international resources. Now there are international institutions which regulate some of the resources like international waters. The oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone, students, belong to open ocean, and no individual country can utilize these without the agreement of international institutions. So now here understand, students, what is exclusive economic zone. It is an area of the coastal water and seabed within a certain distance of a country's coastline, to which the country can claim the exclusive rights for fishing, drilling. First I have told you that country can claim up to 22.2 kilometer or 12 nautical mile. This is our territorial water. First understand that we have a boundary. Within that boundary, whatever resources are there, that is nation's property. Now apart from that boundary, up to 22.2 kilometer, that is the territorial waters. Now beyond that, 200 nautical miles, that is 370 kilometers, also come under exclusive economic zone. That there also the government of India has exclusive rights for fishing, for drilling, and for other activities. Now fourth category is, students, on the basis of status of development. Also we have resources. Now first is potential resource. Now these are the resources for which we have technology to extract, but their extraction or full extraction has not been started till now due to some reasons like lack of investment. For example, Rajasthan has a potential of around 1,42,310 megawatt solar power, but installed capacity is only 730 megawatts. So this is potential resource. Now what is the meaning of potential resource? Student, means we have a availability of technology also to extract such kind of resources. We are willing to use also, but we are not optimally utilizing this resource due to the lack of investment, you can say, with the government. And example of potential resources, solar. Then second category is developed resource. So student, developed resource means the actual resource, and the resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. And the development of resources depend upon technology and the level of their feasibility. So developed resources, student, we have a technology to extract, and we are willing to use also these resources, and we are optimally utilizing also these resources. Rather, you can say we are overutilizing this resource, and the example of developed resource is petroleum. To page 3, students, the next category under the status of development, we have reserve resources, students. So although we have technology to extract these resources, but we are not extracting them at present, and these resources have been stored to meet the future requirements. Like for example, we store water in the dam to meet our energy requirement of the future. So understand now what is a reserve. So for reserves, we have technology in order to extract them. We are willing, but we are not willing to use them. Please understand this thing. We have reserved them for the future use. For example, water in the dams. Now the last one is, student, stock. So continuing from page 3 only, the last category of resources, we have a stock here. So these are the resources for which we don't have technology to extract. we are not having technology. So the water consists of, students, hydrogen and oxygen, which are inflammable, but we don't have technology to extract energy from these elements. So students, water is made up of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen, and hydrogen is flammable but oxygen is not flammable. So we don't have technology to extract these resources. We are willing to use, but we are not able to utilize. So example here is H2O. So that is all with your classification on the basis of status of development, that is potential resource, developed resource, stock and reserve. Now on the same page 3 only, we have to talk about development of resources, student. So resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life, but we have taken these resources for granted. So resources are very important for us, for our survival, and it was believed that resources are free gift of nature. So as a result, human beings use them indiscriminately, and this has led to the major problems like, first, due to the greed of few people, the resources are being depleted at a rapid pace. So we are exhausting, we are reducing our resources at a very high speed. Second problem is accumulation or acquiring of resources in few hands led to the division of society into two segments, that is haves and have-nots. That is the concept of rich and poor. So if only few people they are acquiring all the resources, then the society will be divided into rich and poor. Like see the rural society, there the big farmers, they are having lot of land, and other is the landless farmers, landless laborers, they are not having any land. So in this way the society is being divided into the concept of rich and poor. Then is third problem which we are facing is indiscriminate exploitation of resources, means without any careful thinking we are just exploiting our resources, and this has led to global ecological crisis, the crisis related to environment like global warming, then ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution and land degradation. So indiscriminate use of resources will lead to ecological crises throughout the world. So the solutions to these problems is, student, sustainable development. Now what is the meaning of sustainable development? It means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. Now to arrive at the sustainable development in 21st century, a conference was called, students. So to deal with the urgent problem of environmental protection, a conference was held at Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit in 1992, and in June 1992 more than 100 heads of the state they met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. So this summit was called for addressing the urgent problem of environment protection and socio-economic development at global level, and the assembled leaders they signed the declaration on global climatic change and biological diversity. And students, the Rio Convention supported the global forest principles and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in 21st century. So the outcome of Rio de Janeiro Convention was Agenda 21. Now let's see Agenda 21, students. It is the declaration signed by the world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environmental and Development, which took place at Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and this Agenda 21 aims at achieving the global sustainable development. It is an agenda to fight environmental damage, poverty, disease. So the core issues for which Agenda 21 was signed are poverty, disease and environmental damage. And one of the major objectives that came out of this Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local agenda. It means empowering the local levels so that they can also take steps in order to ensure the sustainable development throughout the world. So Agenda 21 is the action plan of United Nations with regard to sustainable development through global cooperation. So this is Agenda 21. So Agenda 21 is the outcome of our Rio de Janeiro conference. Now the next topic on page 3 which we have discussed is resource planning, students. Now planning is widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. Now we are saying our resources are very vital for our survival, and we are depleting them, we are utilizing them, we are exploiting them without any logical thinking. So resource planning is required. We have to plan our resources in a very judicious manner. Now students, why do we need a resource planning? We need a resource planning because of the unequal and uneven distribution of resources. So the distribution of natural resources, it depends upon number of physical factors like terrain, climate, altitude. So the distribution of resources is unequal because of these factors that differ so much over the earth. And it is very important in a country like India, which has a enormous diversity in the availability of resources. So resource planning, it is widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources.